welcome back to NV Fine Art Studio. I'm Nina and today I'm doing a review of Meiliang 48 watercolor set, also Lightwish Sketchbook and Swatchbook. Let's start with the 48 watercolor set. It is a 2-in-1 plastic storage box and also a paper holder at the same time. At the back it has a little opening just in case if you want to hang it, and when you open it there is one compartment where you can store your paintings, and second compartment where the paints are and where the paper block is. So it has 36 traditional and 12 shimmering colors, and you can swatch them over here in this little leaflet. In regards to the paper, it is a block of, I believe, 20 sheets, and the paper is 300 GSM, 100% cotton, cold press. We will be doing a little demonstration at the end of this video using this paper. I'm assuming this paper is very similar to Bao Hong because I painted on Paul Rubens paper before and it was exactly as Bao Hong, so I'm keeping my hopes up. Also, there is a little space here and I believe it's perfect for brushes. I can actually fit here 4 brushes, 1 medium size, 1 small size mop, and 2 special brushes, needle and a Chinese calligraphy brush, and I think this is all you need for a little plain air sketch. I also received this swatch book from Paul Rubens and it's going to be absolutely perfect for today's testing. It has 12 sheets, 36 spaces per sheet, and this is 100% cotton watercolor paper, 300 GSM. It also has little tracing paper sheets in between each swatch book sheet, and I think it's absolutely perfect to preserve your swatches. Now let's do the testing. First I need to open all these colors, and actually when I was opening the colors I noticed that the packaging doesn't have much information besides the color name. And I believe the 24 Meiliang watercolor set has all the information on the packaging, and that was definitely useful. This is where I realized that Meiliang and Paul Rubens, they use natural pigments, same as professional watercolors, and it's definitely a very good thing. I also noticed that Meiliang colors, they look very similar to my professional colors. They have same saturation, which is very important, I believe, if you're a beginner, to use properly saturated colors where you can start learning from the very beginning the consistency of colors that you need in order to achieve a particular tonal value. Because with all the student grade watercolors such as Winsor Newton Cotman, for example, you need much more paint in comparison to professional watercolor, so you would get used to grabbing much more paint to achieve, for example, a middle tonal value in comparison to professional. So if you want at some point to transition from student grade colors to professional, it would be definitely a difficult transition. But with Meiliang, I've noticed that you need exactly the same amount of paint versus water in order to achieve a certain tonal value. I'm going to swap these two paints around as it looks like the order in hue temperature is mixed up here, and I will talk more about this, about hue temperature and how paints are arranged at the end of the swatching, but I believe it's very important. They did a really good job in arranging the paints, but let's swatch them first. I'm using this art line drawing system marker 0.3, and it's really useful because they are water resistant. I use them for architectural drawings. They're professional quality markers and they're really good if you want to use it with watercolor and you don't want to spoil the writing. The purpose of this type of swatching is that you see full range of tonal values that color can produce. Dark, middle, and light tonal values, in other words, saturation of each color. So you start with pure paint on the left before the line, then add water to the rest of the square. Then you blend the edge between the fully saturated area and the water. And then you observe how paint responds in regards to moving. This will be the middle value, 50-50 water to paint ratio consistency. And on the very left will be your light tonal value, where there is over 70% water in the mixture, all the way going to the right of the square. And make sure you leave a little bit of white of the paper in the square. This test also gives you a good idea about the opacity and granulation of the paint. If you can't see that black line that goes through the fully saturated paint, it means that paint is semi or fully opaque. And if you see texture sand effect in the middle value area, this paint granulates. I'm not going to do the pigment numbers today, and comparison to my typical palette color by color, we did it in my last video. If you are interested in this information, please have a look. The link will be in the description below. But instead of that, we're going to talk about mixing colors. After swatching the shimmering colors, I'm actually interested to mix the shimmering colors and see how they perform. I've never really painted with shimmering colors before, but even with plain colors, we're going to talk about mixing and how the paints are arranged, and I believe this is very important if you're a beginner. So, shimmering colors. I'm going to swatch these 12 colors. It is actually quite difficult to pick up the paint straight from the well, so you definitely need to add a bit of water to each well in advance and leave it at least for a couple of minutes there. Only then it is butter soft and it's really easy to pick it up out of the well. But if you don't do this, if you don't add water in advance, it's literally rock solid. So all the colors are in. Now let's mix two colors together. I don't have any particular interest in what colors to mix, rather than to see how they perform when they mixed, because I know shimmering colors, they have different properties. They're definitely gonna mix in a different manner than typical colors, but I'm very pleasantly surprised that they're still transparent and they show each color on its own, so one color shines through the other color and they all mix together. It's really nice, and it actually creates a most beautiful effect, especially when you mix three colors together. These are so beautiful. I haven't really painted with shimmering colors before, but these are so great. I feel like I have to try it on a proper painting, particularly these three mixes. I can see each individual color, but all three mixed together. It's such an amazing effect and result. I also received this beautiful sketchbook with maple leaf pattern and a tie. The paper feels exactly like the one from the box, so I think I will save this for plein air sketch. I'm going to Spain next week. I'm a guest artist at the International Biennial of New Techniques, Concepts and Developments in Watercolor in Caudete. It is a big cultural event that runs for the whole month of October, with 12 international artists invited to demonstrate and give talks. Also an exhibition of 60 selected artists from over 1,000 applications from around the world. also an exhibition of Meiliang. So many inspiring things will be happening there. If you are in Spain and would like to come, I will leave a link in the description below to register. I hope I'll see you there. So, going back to this little sketchbook, I think it will be absolutely perfect for all the little sketches on the go. I'll do my best to record it. If you are interested, please keep an eye on your notifications or subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet, so you will not miss out on the posts. So, we will do the painting on the paper from the set. It is both of these papers, they are 100% cotton, 300 GSM, cold press artist grade paper. So I'm very excited to start painting. While I'm sketching, I'd like to bring your attention to how the paints are arranged. The bottom color is a complementary opposite in temperature, it means, to the color on the top of that color. So for example, yellow with violet, orange with blue, red with green. It means that if you mix them together, if you mix the bottom color with the top color, they will give you very good gray. And by the gray, I don't mean a silver, black and white type of gray. It really depends on the quantity of each color you mix, but anything from violety gray to brownish gray. And if you ask why you need this, the shadows is one way to answer it. Just remember, watercolor is an exercise of painting shadows. There is no light without the dark. Brilliant, saturated, iridescent shadows are the key to successful watercolor painting. You absolutely cannot pick up a neutral tint or Payne's gray and paint shadow. You need to mix your own color for shadow. And this set literally tells you what colors to mix. How simple is that? So I think this set is absolutely perfect for beginners, especially if you have troubles mixing. This is the first wash, completed and fully dry. Please have a look at all these beautiful blended transitions from color to color, from lighter to darker tonal values. This is absolutely perfect. I suspect they might add a bit of Oxgal to the paints, to the pigments, because the paints move and blend so nicely, you do not have to do much with your brush. For example, you wouldn't even say that I mixed for the sky yellow, red and ultramarine on paper, not even on the palette. I don't think I actually mixed anything on the palette for my first wash here, and it is such a nice atmospheric, fully transparent, iridescent blue sky. All the colors mixed perfectly. Now I'm going to start my second wash, and I'd like to go back to complementary colors that are aligned for your simplicity of mixing. I could have used ultramarine with the color above it, magenta looking red, but instead I will take a cooler red, alizarin crimson looking red. It is cooler or bluer, in other words, or violet in other words, than magenta looking red, and mix it with orangey red, that is a warm red. If you're having troubles understanding the concept, and it's okay, warm and cool hues are difficult to grasp, I will make an example with water. So when you open a tap, you may get a water that is too cold or too hot. And to adjust that to perfect temperature, you move the lever left or right to add more warm water or more cool water to make it a neutral warm. Same thing is here. So instead of picking your neutral warm straight away water, you add a bit of orange warmer water or a bit of blue or violety red, your cooler water. And by mixing cooler and warmer, you get a perfect temperature water, perfect temperature color. Now the shadows under the umbrellas, they need to be warmer yellower because they are semi-transparent and they let some of the sunlight through. So let's mix some of that orange in, and just to make sure that it's not a green mixture we're getting, let's add some of that sienna color. Sienna and ultramarine usually make a good neutral gray. This shadow needs to be light in value, I mean medium tonal value in proper terms, let's say 5 or 6 on a scale of 10. If I needed a darker warm shadow, I would have used burnt sienna because burnt sienna is a darker color, and with mix of ultramarine it would give you a darker tonal value, somewhere around 7 and 8 on a scale of 10. So far the paints behave exactly like my typical palette. I usually use a combination of Daniel Smith, Winsor Newton and Holbein, and at this point all the washes and techniques I'm using, the Meiliang watercolors, are doing really well. I've painted 3 or 4 paintings so far with Paul Rubens and Meiliang watercolors, and the only limitation I found is the edge it makes when you spray or lift. I think it is due to oxgal. It tends to spread quickly and fills all the wet space up to the wet border. So instead of soft edge, you can get a sharp edge. But this is definitely something you can learn to manage. And I will talk about it in a minute. Now I want to test adding wet on wet in different consistencies. Now I'm testing 50-50 paint consistency, and I'm adding a bit of blue straight to the wash and a bit of yellow again straight to the wash, and at the end I'm adding a bit of alizarin crimson looking mixture again straight to the wash. Wet on wet, all looks great, all blends seamlessly as it's supposed to be with 50-50 water paint ratio consistency. Now let's test lifting. This is not only test of paint but paper as well. Poor quality, even 100% cotton paper that wasn't sized properly will not allow you to do too many wet on wet adjustments, like adding multiple wet on wet layers or too much lifting. But here the paper and paints all work well, no issues whatsoever. The only thing I have noticed, again, I've just mentioned that before, this is probably due oxgal, the paint tends to run back after lifting more than usual. I'd actually say quicker than usual, so I either have to wait until the surface is a little drier than that, or lift over a few times to get to the desired soft edge. I'm going to leave a little yellow square for you to observe how the edge changes over the time and how I will fix it at the end of the painting. And now I'm going to do the shadow on the ground. It is a same mix of colors, so there is nothing new here. All works well, the texture, the transparency, the consistency, I'm happy with everything, all looks really good. Finally, I'm testing sticky consistency, 30-70 water to paint ratio over a damp surface. So I'm going to use Turkish blue, it's a similar looking blue to Prussian or marine blue, and again all looks great. Perfect controlled soft edge, the dispersion of the color is really nice, and transparency and the vivid aspect of the color is really good. And now let's test pure paint consistency, so it's over 90% paint in this mixture, how it performs on a wet or damp surface. And again, no issues here, the edge is soft and controlled, exactly what would you expect from this consistency. Now I'm interested in the opaque colors, the coverage and the vibrancy. So far it's good, I can't really fault it. So far, these paints, they've been really good. So if you've tried Paul Rubens or Meiliang paints before, please let me know your thoughts and your experience. I would love to hear them. So if you leave them in comments, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you. Now that little area that marked with yellow square, the edge looks sharp, not soft anymore. This is what I was talking about. So the paint didn't stop until it reached the wet edge. It's okay, the area is still damp. If I lift it now, the paint will stop. This is the dampness level. Almost dry but not dry, when you can lift and it dries as soft edge. So you have an option either to wait until this state of the wash, or you can just lift a couple of times the paper, and paint allows for that, so there is no issue here whatsoever. And here we are, the finished painting. I'm a big fan of these paints now. If you're a beginner, in my opinion, this is better than any student grade big brand paints. This is as close as you can get to professional watercolors. The tonal value and saturation of the pigment is so good. The color is exactly the same as professional paints. So if you are at any point want to transition to professional, you will use the same memory muscle, and you will not have to relearn and adjust your technique. So in my opinion, this is probably the best you can get in regards to student goals, in regards to a more affordable paints on the market.